رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. Alhamdulillah, Assalatu wassalamu ala Rasulih Nabi al-Kareem wa ala alihi ashabihi ajmain. Amma ba'ad, Assalamu alaikum everyone for joining us today. Taif Digital Institute of Islamic Finance welcome you all. Those who are joining in will be starting in about 5 minutes from now onwards. A quick introduction to Taif. We are a digital learning institute focusing on enhancing and developing resources, manpower, and providing digital learning solutions to Islamic banks and Islamic finance institutions. Our objective is to enlighten the life of people by offering Islamic finance as an alternative, ethical, and equitable solution to the masses, to enhance and take the knowledge of Islamic finance to every nook and corner of the world by digitalizing it and making it available to all. Now, before starting, I want a little bit of housekeeping notes. Many of you are already aware of the technology, but the one who are new, you can see on your laptop and desktop, in the right-hand side corner, you will have a checkbox. You will post your question over there. We'll be picking your questions and answer them accordingly. If the time allows, we'll try to answer all of them, but if it doesn't, we'll send all the answers after consulting our advisors to your email box. Those who are tuning in from social media and other platforms, feel free to send messages and WhatsApp as well. I'll be taking your questions personally. People who have registered will be sending you surveys and the poll will be available down there. Please share your experience. Your experience is very much appreciated. We believe the key to improving is to work together. Today's webinar is the first of a series. It will be focusing on a particular area in Islamic Fintech, which is blockchain and crypto assets. Today's speaker is a well-known name when it comes to Islamic Fintech. Mufti Faraz Adam is joining us in from UK. Welcome, Mufti Faraz. We are honored to have him as a Sharia advisor with Taif. He is an advisor to a number of well-known global Islamic finance institutions, and he serves across Islamic economy, Islamic banking, Islamic financing, zakat, waqf, and state planning. He is on a number of global Sharia boards in countries, and he has published over dozens of research papers in contemporary Islamic finance matters. With your permission, I would like to start off with the first question. Sheikh, the buzzword Islamic Fintech has made a significant growth in the industry. It promises to give the next wave of growth in the Islamic finance industry. I would like you to give us an overarching view of what is Islamic Fintech.
So, Jazakallah khair. It's an honor and a privilege to be here with you today and discuss the topic of fintech, being a very relative and being a very, contemporary, as you mentioned, a buzzword. It is something which is on everybody's mind at present. Everybody's talking about fintech. If you go online, if you read the news, if you read any kind of like financial paper, you'll see the word fintech somewhere being mentioned. Many people think fintech is a recent or new phenomenon, but really it's not. It's something which has been happening for a number of years. But I think the scale and disruption that's taking place in the last decade as a result of fintech has caused all the newspapers, tabloids, headlines to really feature fintech. So I guess the question is then, what is fintech? Fintech, if we analyze the word fintech is composed of two words, is abbreviated together. You have fin, which means finance, and tech, which means technology. So fintech is really about financial technology, or the union and the bond between finance and technology. But the question is, today's banks, today's financial firms and financial services, all of them use some form of technology. Then why is there so much emphasis on fintech as a separate sector? Why aren't the traditional services being called fintech services? And that's really the question I think many people will be having of what makes fintech so different? Why is fintech so appealing or new? The real thing, and I guess the crux of the matter is, fintech in its current form that we have, it's about digital transformation. And what we mean by that, it's not just about adopting technology, but it's rather adopting technology which causes, digital transformation in the way products and services are engaged. So today's fintech, when we talk about fintech, we're not talking about using technology. We're not talking about using technology. What do we mean by fintech? What we mean by fintech is highly innovative, disruptive, and pioneering services. So we're talking about moving away from traditional forms of services and using innovative, disruptive services. What do we mean by innovative and disruptive? Innovative, we mean it's something which is uncommon. And disruptive, it means that it's really challenging traditional ways. And that shows that fintech services are using new methods to offer their services. So you have a financial services firm. If it uses fintech, it means it's doing things potentially at a faster rate. It's scaling up quicker. It's tapping into the markets faster. It has less fixed costs or less physical presence. So for example, if we look at a digital bank is a manifestation of fintech. What makes a digital bank different from a traditional bank? A traditional bank will be very bureaucratic, it will be very physical in nature, will be very traditional in nature as well. But comes a digital bank. A digital bank, completely different. When you want to open an account with a digital bank, you don't need to go to a physical branch. You have your smartphone, you take a photo, or you go onto a video call, and you just scan your documents and it's done. Whereas in a traditional bank, you'd have to sign letters, you might have to enter the branch, so on and so forth. So fintech is really about being disruptive in nature. And when we talk about Islamic fintech, what are we talking about in Islamic fintech? Islamic fintech is innovative, disruptive, Sharia compliant services and products being offered through technology. That's what, so when we talk about fintech, this is what really the whole discussion is about. This new era, this new time, this new moment, this new decade of technology being deployed to provide the traditional financial services and products, but in an innovative way. In terms of Islamic fintech, what we mean by Islamic fintech is a fintech services firm, whether that's a banking, it's a banking firm, or a digital bank, whether it's wealth management, so a traditional wealth management firm now using digital services to provide services, or whether it's in the takaful space, whether it's capital markets and sukuk. Many of you might have heard the word of smart sukuk, where sukuk are being deployed on a blockchain. So all the different areas of Islamic finance, whether it's capital markets, whether it's banking, whether it's regulation, whether it's wealth management, whether it's robo-advisory, where individuals are investing in shares and other products, or whether it's crowdfunding. All these different areas, which are all within the Islamic finance ecosystem, they are now being digitalized and being made innovative and disruptive in nature. So they are now taking forms of digital platforms, and they are providing the services via digital service and digital platforms. And so when we talk about Islamic fintech, we're talking about this move and shift from traditional Islamic finance services that we have, and it's being shifted now onto a digital medium and digital space where the costs are less, the impact is more, it's more scalable, and these services are more streamlined, and they're much more seamless than they were ever before. So it's a complete new way to engage the market, to engage with customers, and to engage with the stakeholders. And so Islamic fintech is really about this space where it's all premised and underpinned by the use of disruptive technology and really scaling at a speed which was uncommon, and has never been seen before in traditional services.
Thank you very much, Sheikh, for elaborating and describing on Islamic fintech and Islamic finance. Sheikh, we have seen that Blockchain and cryptocurrency are making inroads in the financial sector, including Islamic finance. People are finding it quite difficult in understanding what is blockchain and how it makes a difference. I would like you to elaborate a little bit on this too.
Oh, sure. And blockchain is, again, another term which is considered a buzzword. Many people use the word blockchain. Many industries will use the word blockchain. Many firms use the word blockchain. But what does it actually mean? And how does it relate to a company or any organization which wants to use blockchain? What does it provide? And what is a blockchain? I think that's the pertinent question here, because I'm sure everybody must have heard word or read that particular word. So blockchain in its very simple, if you want to keep it very simple and something which is digestible for everybody, blockchain is simply a software. So our computers have software, right? The apps that you use, even on your phone, the apps that you use on your phone, any kind of program that you run on your computer. So whether it's Microsoft Word or whatever you're using that we use on a daily basis, these are software. The hardware is stuff like the computer, the body of the computer, or you got external drive, or you have, a USB stick. These are the hardware. Blockchain is software, meaning it's something that runs in the back end. You don't really, you and I, if we're using the blockchain, it's very unlikely that we'll consciously see the blockchain or what's happening. It's something that runs in the back end, right? So think of blockchain as a computer program. It's a software. It's a set of, and what is a software? If we're saying blockchain is software, the question then arises, what is software? Software is simply a set of instructions, data or programs which are used to operate computers. That's what we mean by software. So it's just programs, protocols, data, which are running in the back end of a computer, and they are executing specific tasks. And so blockchain is simply that. It's some kind of software, you can think, and it's running in the back end, and it's helping something being performed and being executed. And that's really what blockchain simply is in its very simplistic form. So blockchains are not something physical. It's not something you can touch, but it's purely a software. They exist in strings of codes. And if you were to look at blockchain, you potentially would just see numbers. So somebody who's really like a tech developer, if they were to go in the back end and see blockchain, it wouldn't make sense to you and me, those who are not experts in tech. But for those who are experts in tech, it would make much more sense for them seeing the numbers and seeing the different coding. But it wouldn't make much sense to you and I and those people who are not really tech experts. So if we understand blockchain as a software, let us dive in deeper and answer what is not blockchain, right? Blockchain is not cryptocurrency. Make that, everybody needs to understand that. Cryptocurrencies run on blockchains, but they are not synonymous. Blockchain and cryptocurrencies are two separate things. Blockchain is software. Cryptocurrencies are what's transferred on that software, you could say. So blockchains are not cryptocurrency. That's number one. Number two, blockchain is not merely, you could say, like a programming language, like you have Java and all these different programming language, right? You have Python. It's not programming language per se. It's not just that. It's more than that. Okay. Neither is it a cryptographic, you could say, codification. Blockchain is not that either. Okay. Blockchain is not artificial intelligence. That's another whole area. So when you talk about AI, we talk about artificial intelligence. That's something different as well. And blockchain is neither, like you could say, a library or Python library or a data library. Blockchain is not that either. And these are where people usually stumble. People think blockchain is either some kind of coding library, or blockchain is some kind of AI technology, or blockchain is potentially some kind of cryptocurrency or some programming language. It's not that. So if we've negated what blockchain is not, the question is, what are the features and what is blockchain all about then? Blockchain being software, it's purely an online ledger. What does a ledger mean? A ledger traditionally means a book or documents which record information. So that's what blockchain is. Blockchain is a software, and it's a software which is a ledger, and a ledger records information. So blockchain is a means of recording information, in a digital space. That's what blockchain is all about. So blockchain records data. It allows us to show certain statuses potentially. You can confirm certain things on a blockchain. You can show certain specifications, elements, characteristics on blockchain, because remember, we're recording data. So wherever data is recorded and data is required, blockchain can help in that space. So think about data, wherever data may be, whatever form of data, whether we want to show ownership, whether we want to show the status of something, whether we want to track something, because that's a form of data as well, or whether we want to show that this thing belongs to this person, or this person transacted with this person. All of this can be running on a blockchain, because blockchain is all about storing, recording data, and that's why we call it a ledger, right? So that's what blockchain really is. And so if we were to really understand and summarize on what we just mentioned, so blockchain is not cryptocurrency. Blockchain is not some kind of coding language. Blockchain is not something which you normally will see. Blockchain is a software. Blockchain is a record, and blockchain helps in recording data. And it has some amazing features which make this form of recording different to the traditional forms of recording. And that's really to summarize what blockchain is all about.
Thank you very much, Mr. Faraz. Now we have an understanding of what is a blockchain. Can you tell us some key concepts underpinning the blockchain?
Yeah, sure. So as I just mentioned about blockchain, what it is, we defined blockchain. We all understood that blockchain is a ledger, it's a software. But what makes blockchain so different to traditional ledgers, traditional forms of recording? Because if you think about it, we can use technology today to record data as well, right? I can go on a computer, I can record information. I can go on a Google Drive or a Google something which is cloud-based services and record information, and that data is still being recorded digitally. So what makes blockchain different from current contemporary cloud-based services? I think that's the real question. So blockchain has, you could say, if you were to summarize, around 5 features which makes it really different to traditional or contemporary means of recording data. So these 5 concepts and 5 elements are key to blockchain. They really underpin the entire concept of blockchain, and that's what really makes people excited when they talk about blockchain. So number 1 is the cryptographic hash function, okay? Cryptographic hash. Number 2 is the immutable ledger. Number 3 is a P2P network, the peer-to-peer network, which blockchain holds. Number 4, it's the consensus protocol that exists within blockchain. And number 5, it's the validation method of blockchain, which is, you could say it's mining, which is a common way, or it's another, it may be another method. Right? There's many methods and validation methods. So these are really the, you could say the 5 key concepts which underpin blockchain and make blockchain really exciting and really engaging for people. And it's what's really creating the buzz in the industry and sector, is these principles. Because remember, blockchain as a concept is not the word blockchain, it's what it stands for. It's what it represents. It's a difference that you can make in businesses. That's what is really appealing to people. But how and what are the differences it's going to make? It's through these methods we just discussed. So for example, number 1 is cryptographic hash. What do we mean? What we mean is, look, a hash, to make it as simple as possible, is basically a method to get data and transform it into a string of numbers. That's what hashing is, right? In a very simple way. So that's what blockchain does. Blockchain can hash information, make it into a string of numbers. But what makes it different to encryption? Encryption does that also. But encryption can be potentially 2-way. But what cryptographic hash does, it's only 1 way, meaning it's just what you can't go back then. So cryptographic hash and the use of hashing in blockchain is about this idea of transforming data into a new form, which is now, you could say, codified, is crypted, it becomes more secure. And this kind of element makes blockchain really appealing too. Of course, think about it. Data is so, the amount of laws on data protection, ensuring data is safe. The world acknowledges the need to have secure data. And this cryptographic hash function allows to secure data, to make it cryptographic. And that's why it's really appealing. And so if you look at blockchain, what happens is, in blockchain, every block has a hash of the previous block, right? And that's what makes it, every block is attached to one another. So there's a number of blocks with data. Each block has the previous block's hash, meaning they're all connected, because that hashing function is incorporated. So you have a parent block, and then you could say the child block, right? So the parent block has information that's transferred into the next block. And so, but that next block has a chain of all the previous blocks as well. And all the information is connected, all the information is hashed. So if you change anything anywhere, it'll impact the whole system. And that's why, it's what we call immutable. It's very, very secure. And that's the second feature of blockchain, was this idea of being immutable, right? And what do we mean by immutable is this idea of being connected, of interconnectedness. That it's not possible to modify any single block without changing the entire chain. So that makes the process even more secure. Okay, how does that make it secure? Because think about it. What this means is nobody can tamper with information. Nobody can change the information. All the information will be immutable, because if you change information in any block, it'll be straight away understood that the information is being changed, because all the blocks carry the same information. So if you change the information anywhere in the process, it'll send an alert and alarm. Right? It'll be rejected by the system. And this is the reason why it's really disrupting traditional services. Where traditional services, for example, if you have money, you want to send money from one country to another country, you'll have a number of banks. Each bank would be verifying the funds, right? And will be using its own way to validate the information. But in blockchain, you don't need each bank to have its own ledger or own record. There'll only be, from a blockchain perspective, there'll only be one record, and all of them have visibility to that. So we are then certain that no one single bank can change the information. Rather, everybody seeing in one time, in real time, the data, the information. And so you don't need to pay for the different intermediaries and for the checks and balances, because the blockchain provides that trust inherently. So that's the second thing, immutable ledger. Number 3, which is a peer-to-peer network I mentioned, is that blockchain does not need like a governing body or third party. The peer-to-peer kind of function of blockchain, which is the participants themselves, all of them hold a copy of the blockchain. All of them can view the blockchain. All of them can be nodes and validate the blockchain. So that removes the need to have some kind of overarching governing body ensuring that the data, the information is valid. And therefore that results in cost efficiency. You don't need to pay for somebody's services or a third party to oversee everything. Likewise, you don't need to pay for auditors or any of that sort, because the system itself creates a very secure way of recording data. And then the fourth thing I mentioned was consensus protocol. Consensus protocols are just simply what the word says is protocols measures methods to reach consensus, to reach agreement amongst a group of people. This can be done in many ways. So blockchain has a number of ways where the participants can reach consensus. That can be either through what we call the proof of work, which is famous in Bitcoin, where we have people mining and trying to solve a puzzle. Or you have a proof of stake, which is another common way where nodes will stake their coin and hopefully be selected for something to validate the blockchains. So there are many ways, right? And that's for a more technical discussion. But really just to understand this, that's the fourth kind of feature of blockchain. The fifth is the validation method itself, how blocks are validated on the network. So really all of these different features that we just talked about, these five. So we talked about cryptographic hash initially, then we spoke about the immutable ledger, then we spoke about the peer-to-peer network, we spoke about the mining or consensus protocol, and then we spoke about blockchain validation, right? The block validation. These five are the fundamental characteristics and features and qualities of a blockchain. And it's these five which will be leveraged to provide, you could say, innovative, disruptive services across the financial sector.
Thank you very much, Mufti Faraz, for explaining and how blockchain works and what are the key 5 elements. You have mentioned each in detail. I would like if you can give some examples of use cases of blockchain.
Sure. So by now, everybody must have understood, we have an idea of what Islamic Fintech is. We talked about Fintech. We talked about blockchain, what it is and what it's not. Then the question arises, okay, we understand what Fintech is now. We've understood what blockchain is, in a simple way. The question is, where and how can we use blockchain? That's the real question. So blockchain, there's been many manifestations of the use of blockchain. It's still in its primary form. It's very early stages. The technology is still in its infancy, but we can now begin to see more and more deployment of blockchain, more and more use of blockchain. So for example, in the Islamic Fintech space, there's a company which is using blockchain to launch Waqf projects. So the Waqf process, end-to-end Waqf, is being managed on a blockchain. The assets, the traceability, the recording, the governance, the distribution, it's all being done on the blockchain. So this is one use of blockchain, because remember, we mentioned blockchain is about recording data. But it's such a way to record data that it minimizes costs, brings more transparency, and it brings immutability, meaning it can't be changed. And the Waqf, the beauty about Waqf is, as everybody knows, Waqf becomes permanent assets. Waqf is essentially something a person gives for the sake of Allah, for reward purposes, but its utility, its benefit is permanent. The ownership transfer is permanent. A person can never retrieve the asset. And then the asset becomes permanently in Waqf for general causes, charitable causes, or the public interest. So the idea of Waqf is all about being permanent. It's about serving the community on a permanent basis. Nobody can buy the asset, nobody can sell the asset. So think of how well that aligns with blockchain, because remember, we talked about blockchain. Blockchain is immutable. Blockchain has a permanent record. So never will a person be able to change something recorded as Waqf on a blockchain and change that as not being Waqf. And Waqf requires being permanent. So Waqf is a beautiful example of blockchain use. Another example of Islamic Fintech on blockchain is Zakat, right? Zakat services. So there's been ideas, research done, and testing done on how can Zakat be used using a blockchain. How can we spend Zakat? Because Zakat requires governance and good practice. We should be able to see and ensure that the beneficiary of Zakat receives the Zakat funds, because a person is paying in one place, the beneficiary is somewhere else. How do we ensure and trust that the person who we intended to give Zakat to has received the Zakat? So the blockchain, because it's a ledger, because it records, it traces, it can track and trace, we can have a system where Zakat is paid on a blockchain, and then we can see exactly where it's been and trace it. So we can know with certainty that it's reached this recipient's account. It's not been, it's not been lost in the system. Whereas in the traditional services, if you pay Zakat, you'll be using a charity, or you'll be doing a bank transfer or some other transfer. Sometimes the funds can get lost. You don't have full transparency. You as a payer don't know. You have to double check. You don't know what the intermediary organization is doing with the funds. But using zakat on a blockchain will allow that full transparency, and it will be a track and trace system in essence. So that's another beauty of Islamic fintech in terms of blockchain. Also, another idea which is becoming increasingly common is investing on blockchain or using blockchain to manage funds and assets. So it's assets under management. There's a whole another area of blockchain where assets can be recorded on the blockchain. So if any fund is managing assets, an Islamic firm can have its assets listed, recording on the blockchain, and can be there visible for all. But as I said, this is in its infancy. That people are still testing and trying different methods. These were, you could say, Islamic fintech space ideas of blockchain, and there are many more. There are many more. And for example, sukuk, that's another very common one. We have the concept of smart sukuk, which is a sukuk launched, issued on a blockchain. So whoever invests in the sukuk will get a token or certificate via the blockchain. And all the process of the sukuk will be visible on the blockchain. And the proceeds, the governance, the recording, regulatory requirements, everything will be visible on the blockchain and will be functioning on the blockchain. So all the data will be stored on the blockchain. That's another way to really use blockchain. And some non-Islamic or just generic kind of practice use. It was a firm called Medical Chain. What they did was they used the blockchain to record all the data or keep the data of patients. So at any one time, anyone can access the blockchain data and see exactly the history of the client. Again, it's like a cloud-based service where everybody can see. You can put that data and it always remain there. But it's only one record which everybody's getting access to at one time. That allowed the decentralization of knowledge, you could say, or of this data. And it enabled secure, faster, and more transparent exchange of information and data. That was the benefit of that. So, I mean, there's many other medical chain was one. IBM Food Trust is another project on the blockchain. And what it does is it's all about tracing food on the blockchain, giving greater transparency and efficiency. And this is an amazing project because all of us know that today's food chain supplies are huge, right? Food is produced in one country, shipped, packaged somewhere else, and sent somewhere else, right? So food is another great example of using blockchain to enhance the transparency, to enhance the checks and balances, to ensure all the correct information is there, to ensure security and safety for the consumers, and to ensure that the food is, ethical, it's done in a proper way, it's not been mismanaged. So all these kinds of things and this kind of data can be recorded in the blockchain, and we can trace, we can see where did this particular food come from. The blockchain will give you that full trail, which is the beauty of blockchain.
Thank you very much, Sheikh, for explaining on blockchain and elaborating in detail about how blockchain makes a difference in the case studies and the examples that you share. I believe everybody is clear about blockchain now with respect to Islamic finance and in general. We have the next topic on crypto assets. Sheikh, it is seen historically money should be based on physical assets, be it coin, paper money, gold, silver, or we can say exchange of goods. I would like to know what are the crypto assets and what are the views of scholars on it?
No, sure. You're absolutely right. I mean, the kind of understanding that we've had previously is money, currency has to have physical nature. And really the whole discussion on what is money in Islam, what is currency in Islam, is actually a very lengthy discussion. It's a very vital and pertinent discussion because many assume that gold is the currency of Islam, which is not true. Gold is not the currency of Islam, but gold was used as a currency. Reason being is because of its properties. Gold in and of itself, doesn't have to be the currency, but it's the properties of gold which make gold really appealing as a currency, and that's why it was used as a currency for thousands of years. And it's the properties. Wherever we can find those properties, that new item can be a means of payment, because money or currency is just that. It's a medium of exchange. It's all about transferring value. And so when we talk about cryptocurrencies is probably not the right term to use, because cryptocurrencies in the industry anyway is a subset of the word crypto assets. Crypto assets is, you could say, the umbrella term, and it's more commonly used nowadays to refer to all the different types of cryptos that are out there, because there are many forms of cryptos with different utility. So if we say crypto assets is the umbrella term, cryptocurrencies are a type of crypto asset. So when we talk about crypto assets, what are we talking about? Crypto assets is simply a digital representation of value. That's what it is. Crypto assets are a digital representation of value that uses cryptographic techniques to transfer, to work, to function. Simple as that. So crypto assets is all about using cryptographic techniques to transfer value or transfer something or to record something. And so if we have, for example, a database, and I want to represent that I own £1 on that database, my crypto can represent that value, and I can send that value to you on this database. And if this database now is called blockchain, then I'll be transferring my value or my input of 1 to you, my unit to you. That's what crypto assets are, really. And as I said, they can represent many things. Crypto assets are not just about money. Crypto assets can represent money on this digital space. They can represent assets in this digital space. They can represent title deeds. For example, one of our founder, Brother Muhammad Zia, Allah reward him, he mentioned about himself as an example that he's aware of how title deeds are being issued on the blockchain. So somebody can have record and have evidence on the blockchain of their ownership of something. So that now title deeds was a piece of paper traditionally, but now it's become a digital token. It's become a digitized paper, which is now on the blockchain. It's immutable. Nobody can change that. Everybody can see it. So nobody can mess around with his ownership. Nobody can manipulate the data there. And that's the beauty of it. So it's very secure. So crypto assets can represent assets, right? Where crypto assets can represent commodities. It can represent securities and investments. Crypto assets can represent services and utility. They can be a ticket to access things. So there's many types of crypto assets.
Thank you very much for making us understand about crypto assets. I would like to know what are the views of scholars when it comes to Islamic side of the crypto assets.
Sure. So when it comes to scholarly opinion on crypto assets, as most people can appreciate, it's a completely new area. So many scholars have been researching, writing, and alhamdulillah, I was very fortunate in the sense that when I was doing my master's program in Islamic Finance and Banking in the UK, my dissertation was on crypto assets. And that's, I think it's from that time, from 2016, when Bitcoin was really booming. The Bitcoin price was beginning to inflate. And so I just happened, because of Allah's will, I happened to be there at that time from Allah's kind of, Allah's planning. And my dissertation was on Bitcoin at the time. And that really allowed me to see the views and research Bitcoin much more and understand this whole area, because I could dedicate, months and months on this as part of my thesis. And scholars have differed in cryptocurrencies. And again, it's because it's a new area, it's a new discussion, it's a new issue. And if we were to categorize the opinions, we could say there's 3 opinions among scholars broadly. And it's perfectly fine because it's a form of ijtihad. Because cryptocurrencies are new, scholars will differ. But this shouldn't be a means of confusing yourselves. Rather, you should follow any scholar you refer to, you genuinely refer to, you have trust in the knowledge, you ask them and take their opinion. It's no problem. But it's perfectly fine to have an alternative opinion, because the issue is new. It's going to have multiple opinions. So if we were to outline the different views, we could say the first view is that crypto assets are not Sharia compliant at all. But the reason these scholars say, and there's some scholars who are of this view, they say that crypto assets are things which are not recognized as property in Islam. It's nothing, they just, it's just something digital. It has no value whatsoever. Meaning from an Islamic perspective, it's not recognized as something which is existing. Okay, that's their view. They are the view that really there's no entity there. It's almost gambling. You're just playing around with numbers. And that's the view of some scholars, and therefore they say Bitcoin is not Sharia compliant. This view has been seen in potentially scholars from India and the subcontinent. Other scholars have refrained from issuing an opinion. And so these, you could say probably in the subcontinent area, this kind of opinion is prevalent, where they say that crypto assets are not recognized as anything whatsoever. The second opinion of crypto assets is that crypto assets do exist. They are something. It is recorded. It is retrievable. A person can own them, but they can never be used as a currency. They can be used to store data, or they can be used to transfer certificates or tokenize assets, but they cannot be used as currency. Currency can only be issued by a government or an authority. Currency cannot be digitized in this manner in a loose space, which is privatized or decentralized and completely cryptographic. It cannot be. The role of currency is far greater than this. So this is the second view. The third view of scholars is that cryptocurrencies or crypto assets can be used for anything and everything, including currencies. Meaning that those scholars who are of the third view, they say you can get a cryptocurrency to develop a new currency. You don't need an authority or a government to tell you what's a currency. You can transfer value amongst people in a network even without the government authority. And of course, this is depending on where people are, contextual realities, challenges, and the regulatory environment. So that's why you could say these are like the three key areas. Majority of scholars, I would say, or what I've noticed now anyway, if they are somewhere between 2 and 3, where they are accepting that cryptocurrencies and crypto assets are a reality. They can be traded. They are being traded. But can they work independently? Can they function? Is there a risk? Is there a governance risk? Is there a Sharia risk? Is there a regulatory risk? These are the questions now that the Islamic fintech industry is having and regulators are having. And I think when the regulators come to a position, that will really shape the industry and will have a much clearer position. As many of you might be aware, many governments are now talking about using crypto as a form of currency. The idea is being discussed and reviewed. So definitely it's something which we will see much more movement on in the near future.
May I know, Mr. Faraz, which is the opinion do you support?
Yes, so my view really rests in the third view, where I personally believe that crypto assets can be used for currency. It can be used for tokenizing assets. It can be used to record data. They're completely valid. For me, it doesn't really make much sense if we say it doesn't exist. The first view, I find it very hard to understand because we're clearly seeing movement. We're clearly seeing record of ownership of something. A person can use Bitcoin to buy things. Bitcoin is being used in charity as well. I mean, in Ramadan, some charities were accepting Bitcoin payments in the world. So clearly it's something that's being transferred. Clearly something is being used. Something is being given, something is being received. So to say it doesn't exist, or to say it's gambling, or to say it's just numbers, doesn't make much, it's not so accurate. So the first opinion, I don't really find accurate. The second opinion, which states that crypto assets are there, but it can never be used as currency. This debate is all about who has the right to issue a currency. Is it only the government? Yes, the current construct works like that. We as the people, we have our governments representing us. They manage all these monetary affairs, the economic affairs. But from a Sharia perspective, is it solely the right of the government? The answer from a fiqh perspective I'm talking about now is that no. People also, like the fuqaha have discussed, a group of people, they can amongst themselves in a network say, I will pay you using this. So for example, if 10 people got together and said, we will be using this particular phone, everybody has his phone and this will be the means of payment, they can do that. Okay, so it's a social way of transferring value. It's a social way. It's a social network of transferring value. Yes, however, once the government gets involved, there'll be a bit greater regulatory framework. There'll be more stability. There'll be less volatility, less risks. So it's really welcome that governments, they take on the crypto space. They give a regulatory framework. We have the standard setting bodies out there to create standards around crypto assets. And all these institutions that are needed to make a financial service run properly. So that's welcome, and inshallah it will bring greater transparency, stability, use, and benefit for the crypto space.
Thank you very much, Mufti Faraz, for enlightening us on how crypto assets are being seen by different scholars around the globe and sharing with us your point of view as well. With this, I would like to move towards the Q&A session where our CEO, Mr. Muhammad Ziaullah Siddiqui, will be joining us. Muhammad Ziaullah Siddiqui is seasoned professional with 30 years of post-CA qualification experience as CFO and CEO of multi-billion-dollar turnover companies in Africa and Middle East. His passion to promote Islamic finance have driven him to put the foundation of Taif Digital Institute for Islamic Finance. And today, me and you at this platform are benefiting from it. Without further ado, I would like Mr. Zia to take the cute question from Zoom participants, social media, and WhatsApp chat. Thank you very much. The mic is over to you, Mr. Zia.